So, I'm going to be doing analysis of Chuppa versus Lega. Um, Two really good players. I'm a big fan of Lega, and Chuppa has one of the most consistent track records of any Northeast player. His 2016 season was phenomenal. His 2015 season was quite solid, and so forth. We're gonna wait till we have more than 0 viewers um, to do anything, but just gonna chill here. Cool. Uh, by the way, if anyone ever has any questions about analysis, what's up, Tagmouse? Sorry I'm doing this so late for you. If you have any questions about any of the analysis I'm doing, feel free to ask. I'd love to have discussions about the types of plays that are going on. I think we could all stand to learn a bit more. So, this is the last match of the week between the Sea Dogs and the Puppies. Sea Dogs got crushed because we're garbage, but Chuppa pulled it back and made it so we lost 2-6 the way I predicted. But I predicted only myself and Carson to win, whereas instead it was Chuppa and Modern Gamer. So in this matchup, it looks like Lega is using a version of Feiss's team, Feiss, with the Megalodios, the Aegislash. It used to have Kartana, but now it has a Coco. Usually Specs Tapu Fini, it was Assault Vest Landorus, and I believe it was Weakness Policy Tyranitar, without Dragon Dance. The thing about this team is that I don't think it's aged very well. I feel like Latias was really good when the only thing in the format was Charizard, or, Rain teams and Latias, beat those things very consistently. With the format shifting over to Incineroar, Metagross, Gardevoir, Salamence, even to an extent. Salamence Amoonguss, Salamence Incineroar. Latias gets a lot less comfortable. And so I'm not sure I like where it is in the metagame. I was a big Latias fan a while ago. Not really a big Latias fan right now. Chuppa seems to be using a version of Ashton's team. I'm pretty sure it's just the exact 6. From what we see later on in the games, it's just Ashton's. It's just a bin of Ashton's team, which seems to have held on through the format change, through the Incineroar edition. Not exactly sure how that works. I'm gonna have to investigate. Matthias is telling me that he played badly, and it's fair enough, but that does not mean that this is going to be some bad analysis. We can analyze how Matthias played poorly. So, start this off looking at team preview. So, if I'm Chuppa, if I'm Lega, I look at Chuppa's team. What does he want to do here? So, it's hard to... It depends on his Latias set. Assuming his Latias is Calm Mind, you want to bring Latias because it beats Mence really hard, and it, can Calm Mind up on Specs Fini. No, you can't bring Latias. It has too many losing matchups. It beats Amoonguss, but Amoonguss can Spore Latias, and so Latias is probably going to stay on the bench on this one. I could see wanting to bring Latias, but the fact that there's Aegislash, Tyranitar, presumably an Assault Vest Tapu Koko with Nature's Madness, Specs Fini, and Amoonguss, you can beat the Amoonguss, but you don't want to have to fight Amoonguss, ideally. The fact that there are all these different things means that Latias is not going to be particularly comfortable coming to this game, so we want to leave Latias at home. What else? Oh, I think it turns out this is Scarf Landorus, so I'm going to proceed as if it's Scarf from Lega's point of view, but not from Chuppa's point of view. From Chuppa's point of view, I'm going to assume that it's AV for now. I might not. We'll see. Lando's good here. Lando just beats this team. That's one of the big deals with Scarf Lando. It seems to just beat every team. You can't really create a team that isn't weak to Scarf Lando. The reason being that Scarf Lando has the Earthquake Rock Slide combination, and so you're gonna get Rock Slided in the mid game and then Earthquaked in the late game. And if you can't preserve your flying types, your ground resists, Lando's just gonna run through you. So want to bring Landorus. Aegislash depends on his third move. Aegislash is pretty good here. Beats Salamence. We know the Salamence is Earthquake, but Aegislash puts on a bunch of pressure. Feeney's quite good. Chuppa doesn't have a lot of great ways to immediately hit it, and because his Specs Feeney can do a bunch of damage. I might bring Tyranitar to this matchup. It does a lot of work if you can get it rolling. And Coco's pretty good here as well. So some combination of the 5 non-Latias Pokemon, any of them would be good. I would probably try and lead Landorus Coco because Landorus Coco gives you the most options. And then I would probably go Tyranitar, Aegislash in the back. For Chuppa side, you tend to want to lead with Salamence against stuff like this. Because you want to get your Intimidate off. You want to have the potential to say, oh, my Salamence is in a good position, I'm going to go. But also just to intimidate opposing landers is very important with this team. And then Chuppa's going to want to bring a Mungus. I think, yeah, because if Chuppa gets a Dragon Dance off in the right position, Earthquake does run through most of Lega's team, but Amoonguss is necessary for the in the right position part. So if you're bringing Salamence, which I think you are, I think you pretty much have to bring Amoonguss. 1 second. So Salamence, Amoonguss. The Aegislash has Sacred Sword. I could see an argument for it. The Z move is really nice. Well, so I think you want Coco, because you want... I might go Mence, Amoonguss, Coco, Aegislash here. That does seem a bit weak to Latias, so I might want to switch. I'm sorry about that, guys. Some debt relief program. It's Ashton's team, so that is going to be Sacred Sword Aegislash on Chuppa's side. I don't know what Lega's set is. So Mence, Amoonguss, not in that order. I think you want Coco to have some sort of like mid-tier way to take Feeney's attacks and then actually do damage to it, unlike Amoonguss, and have, switching potential and so forth. So I would bring Mence, Coco, Amoonguss. Well, with those 3 in that order so far. I don't think you want Feeney. I don't know what Lega's moveset on the Aegislash is. I might want to leave my Aegislash at home in case I don't believe in its ability to get off a Ghostium. And also I might be able to force Lega to get off the super effective but not one-shotting attack on my Tyranitar. Like with Earthquake, -1 Earthquake or something. But I could see either Aegislash or Tyranitar, and I think you could very well lead Mence plus Aegislash. Less sure about Mence plus Tyranitar. You don't want Tyranitar to get intimidated. I think Mence Coco or Mence Aegislash with Amoonguss, and then Coco or Tyranitar in the back, all respectively, are the optimal ways to go about this. So let's see what turn 1 gives us. So we got Feeney Landorus against Feeney Amoonguss. Okay, I was not expecting this from Chuppa. Why did Chuppa bring Tapu Feeney? So Chuppa has Specs Feeney. It's Ashton's team, so it is Specs. Um, I mean, Feeney is good here. Don't get me wrong. It's just I just wasn't expecting him to. Feeney Amoonguss is surprisingly a very strong lead. You can redirect attacks from Feeney, get good Moonblasts off. I guess Chuppa was still scared of Latias, even because he has the opportunity to make the read, but in team preview, it's generally correct to just kind of play safe, because you have no clue what your opponent's thinking. They could just think, I'm going to bring my Mega. So you want to be taking a more proactive response to that. Probably why he didn't lead something like Mence Coco. Mence Amoonguss. Mence Aegislash might have been good against that. And I could definitely see it being, pretty good in this spot. Mence Aegislash, switch Mence into Amoonguss, and then sub with Aegislash could be very strong. But Chuppa went with Feeney, thinking maybe we're gonna be able to pressure Coco with a Rage Powder Moonblast or something, expecting Scarf Lando, so Scarf Lando has to U-turn out, so now you can pressure the Scarf Lando switch in by switching Amoonguss into Coco and scalding the Landorus. I guess it was, thinking about the Scarf Landorus switch in. It's a very balanced lead. And Chuppa's Feeney is most likely faster. It can kind of spam Muddy Water Moonblast. Yeah, you're not wrong. Like, every tool Chuppa has is good in this matchup. I was kind of scared of bringing Feeney because Latias can deal with it if it locks in, and Aegislash is also really good, and Feeney can kind of get into an awkward position in the mid game. But I guess his idea was he wanted something that was really good against Landorus, as opposed to Aegislash or T-Tar, which are not that great against Landorus. So it's turn 1. So Chuppa has. If I'm Chuppa, I'm definitely. You switch Amoonguss into Coco here if you have it. And you scald the Landorus. Landorus can't switch into a scald resist. You could Moonblast the Landorus. That's definitely an option. However, I don't think I think Moonblast is easy enough that Landorus doesn't want to switch into Latias. Like, Moonblast is easy enough and punishing enough that Landorus doesn't want to switch into Latias. You don't really cover it, but I think that it's not a particularly good play. So Landorus is so the way to understand this position is, first, Landorus doesn't like being here. It can't click Earthquake effectively. Landorus' goal generally is to lead, click U-turn, get back out, win the positioning war, step by step, maybe get the Intimidate on the Salamence. So if I'm Lega here, what I'm doing is 100% U-turning something. I U-turn the Feeney. So when you go for U-turns or Volt Switches, you almost always want to be U-turning or Volt Switching the threat to the Pokemon that is using U-turn or Volt Switch. Most of the time you want to go for the most likely U-turn Volt Switch, because you want to protect the Pokemon that is using U-turn or Volt Switch. So in a lot of positions in 2017, you have Coco against Arcanine P2, almost always go for the Volt Switch on the P2, because P2 can't protect. And you get Coco out safely, as opposed to, potentially taking a Protect Ice Beam into it. So I expect Lega to go for something like a Calm Mind if he has it, Moonblast the Feeney if he doesn't, and U-turn the Feeney. And I think Chuppa might switch Amoonguss into Coco, but he could also Sludge Bomb the Feeney and Scald the Landorus. I think if you switch Amoonguss into Coco, it's very safe and covers for a bunch of switch-ins from Lega a bit better, where you can, maneuver the Feeney around and so forth. So Amoonguss goes for Rage Powder, trying to take the Moonblast, I guess. Yeah, so Chuppa expected that. Okay. Okay. So what happened here? Chuppa expected specs on Lega's Fini. Very reasonable. The original set had specs on it. And so, he knows that in this position, Fini is clicking Moonblast on his Fini. And he knows that Lega doesn't have great ways to hit Fini. He, has the Ghostium, he has Coco, and that's about it. I'm not particularly worried about my Fini's health, because I think Fini's job in this matchup is to, move through kind of quickly, and I think it move through the Pokemon kind of quickly, chip things, and then get knocked out, let Mence sweep. So I think that a switch to Coco would have been really nice on that turn 1. Even if he accompanied it with a Moonblast into the Fini. I like the Moonblast into the Fini. Because Chuppa also doesn't have great ways to hit Fini, and it's probably less important than the Ega Slash, probably less important to hit than the Ega Slash that's switching in. Although, if Chuppa had gone for the Scald, Ega Slash would not be particularly comfortable, and if he'd switched into Coco, Nature's Madness Scald could be very threatening to this Ega Slash, or whatever else Lega had decided to switch in, if he had decided to switch something else in. Here. And so he decided that hitting the Fini is important because you need to have the Fini chipped. And Chuppa doesn't want his Fini chipped. Cool. So here, Moonblast into the Fini is free. It is a damage roll, but it is likely to be a knockout. You did a tiny bit more than 50%. So even if the next roll is lower than 50%, it could still be above the required threshold. When you do that, you also want to switch out Amoonguss. I think Amoonguss is really important to the matchup. That sacrifices Fini. I don't like that. Okay. Lega's play is the more important one. Lega can switch out Fini or not. If he doesn't switch out Fini, sacks it. And he expects to get a trade with Ghostium onto Chuppa's Fini. So blowing the Never-Ending Nightmare on Chuppa's Fini is... I don't know my damage calcs, but it's pretty much guaranteed to take a knockout if it can knock out Fini. So Chuppa needs to play with the knowledge that Lega's Fini is either switching out if he wants to preserve it, which I'm not sure I would at this point, because everything Chuppa's likely to have brought beats your Fini now, because of the chip it's taken. Like Landorus beats Fini, Coco beats Fini, Ega Slash beats Fini, T-Tar even beats Fini. Now that it's gotten the chip, so I might sacrifice my Fini, and then I think you have to blow the Ghostium right here. You don't want it to get Rage Powdered, but taking out Amoonguss is pretty good, because then you can send in Coco for free, and Chuppa's team doesn't have great ways to beat Coco actively. It has, Electro Web and so forth, but if you can get Coco in on the Fini, you can get a bunch of pretty good damage. So I think that the correct play here from Lega is to Moonblast, Never-Ending Nightmare the Fini, and go from there. So Chuppa needs to play around that. I think you have to Moonblast the Fini to cover for the Fini not switching, because so Chuppa is locked into Moonblast. So if he switches out, so he can't hit the Ega Slash. So he can't really read Fini switching into anything besides just by Moonblasting it. Then Chuppa needs to decide whether he wants to trade Amoonguss for the damage into the Fini slot, or whether he wants to trade all or most of Fini's HP to get a Regenerator off on the Amoonguss, preserve Amoonguss, and get a Moonblast into the Fini slot. I think that preserving Amoonguss HP might be more important because Chuppa doesn't have great ways to hit Tapu Koko. So I might switch out Amoonguss into Koko and Moonblast the Feeny. Important thing to note, Chuppa has won the potential speed tie twice, so I would expect his Feeny to be... No, he is not. It is a speed tie. So we saw from the activation of Misty Surge that this is indeed a speed tie. I would still risk it if I was Chuppa. You Moonblast the Feeny and switch out into Koko. That's my understanding of the situation. Yeah, that was my thought, Tagmouse. Okay, so it's turn 1. Lega preserves his Feeny. I don't like that. And yeah, Chuppa does switch out into Koko. Smart. Moonblast into Lando. Yep. There's the Ghost DMZ. Yep. Into the Feeny. Doesn't knock it out. Cool. So, we got that play mostly right. I disagree with Lega's decision to preserve Feeny. I think that was not great. Because Landorus took a ton of damage, and now it's in Salmon's knockout range, so Landorus doesn't have the bulk that it needs to make its way through this game. Chuppa's Moonblast was correct, the switch into Koko was correct, the Z of the Feeny was correct. Lega also just had like a 50% chance to trade Feeny for Feeny, which would be very positive for him. I guess he was scared of, Rage Powder into Berry activation, which wouldn't have been ideal. But maybe that's scary. But I think at that point you just have to, risk that, sacrificing your Feeny for the Amoonguss or your Feeny for the Feeny, or just sacrificing Feeny because Landorus taking this much damage is unacceptable. The game is in a very bad place right now for Lega. Chuppa got the Koko in. Which was good. I agree with that. So here, the Earthquake is coming, right? That's just how you have to interpret this position. Earthquake is too easy to ignore. What happens if Earthquake happens? Aegislash switches into... Okay, I actually kind of like Lando switch. No, I don't like Lando switch. Lando should have more HP. I'd sacrifice Feeny. Okay. What's going on with this Lando? So, the Earthquake is telegraphed, right? You look at this position, you say, okay, Landorus is Earthquaking, Aegislash is King Shielding, and the Koko and the Feeny are getting knocked out. That's the simplistic way to understand this position, so it's wrong. So how do we move forward from that? So, Chuppa can't go for Switch in Salamence and Volt Switch the Aegislash because Protect Earthquake is a bit too easy. King Shield Earthquake is too easy. So Koko has to manually switch. Does Chuppa want to preserve Feeny at this point? No, you don't preserve Feeny here. You sacrifice Feeny. Okay, yeah. So Chuppa's men's switch-in is telegraphed here because the Earthquake King's Shield play is so telegraphed. So he wants to switch something into Salamence. I think it should be Koko. Well, so he wants to switch into Salamence. So it's very possible that Lega goes for Rock Slide. And you don't want your Ments to take that. So I think the reason Lega goes for Rock Slide is because it allows his Aegislash to attack. And potentially get him more damage overall, especially if Rock Slide knocks out the Feeny or puts it into enough range that it can be knocked out, very easily. While Shadow Ball, Rock Slide does a ton of damage to the Ments that's obviously coming in. So what I think Chuppa has to do is sacrifice Tapu Fini here to force Lega to go for Earthquake. I don't think Rock Slide it might KO the Fini, but I think just leaving Fini in far is far better than letting Mence take the damage. I think Lega is going to go for Rock Slide Shadow Ball, and the Shadow Ball is probably going to be on the Coco. But I don't think you ever commit to leaving Coco in because you could just lose instantly. So Coco into Amoonguss and Moonblast the Landorus is what I think happens from Chuppa. You don't want Mence taking too much damage. I think like it goes for Rock Slide and Shadow Balls the Coco slot. Okay. That's not a Salamence. That's not a Salamence, Chuppa. Where is your Coco resist? Not Coco. Where's your... That's not a... No, you can't U-turn the Coco because then you're just trading whatever's in the back for the Fini, and you just start trading like a lot more than you needed to. You want to knock out the Fini, and I think Rock Slide does if it's not at -1, and if it does get to -1, then you get to Shadow Ball the Mence switch in. So I very much disagree with that. Because if you U-turn the Coco and sub, then you just trade what's in the back for a U-turn on an Amoonguss, and that's just not enough. Because Amoonguss can Spore the Landorus next turn. I just don't respect that play. So Chuppa sends out Tyranitar as opposed to Coco. That's correct. But this is an awkward position. So you don't know what third move this Aegislash has. You don't know what fourth move this Aegislash has. So you have to crunch it. You have to Spore the Landorus. You just have to. Giga Drain won't knock it out. Chuppa has exactly one move in this position. If he doesn't go for... He could go for Dragon Dance. I don't like that. I think it's very greedy and doesn't respect Lega's potential to just attack with Aegislash or sub with Aegislash. You have to Spore the Landorus. So Landorus really wants to switch out here in order to get Intimidate off and, you know, only be hitting Tyranitar when it can knock it out and doesn't get +2 Rock Slided or whatever. You don't want to Earthquake your own Aegislash. But I think you have to Spore it anyway, because if Lega goes for something like Earthquake and switch in Fini and you crunch the Fini, you lose. So I'd rather not just lose. Dragon Dance could be good. No, and Dragon Dance also just doesn't make you faster than the Coco or the... It just doesn't make you faster than enough things. So I think Crunch Spore is correct, and I think Lega has to... Okay, so I think Crunch Spore is correct from Chuppa. What does Lega do? Lega wants to preserve Landorus. So you switch Landorus into Fini. It's fine if Fini takes Sludge Bomb damage. It's not a particularly big threat. And then you hit the Tyranitar with a move. Whatever your coverage move is on Aegislash. This does depend on... Or you hit Amoonguss. You might hit Amoonguss with the Shadow Ball, see if you can... No, that doesn't knock out Amoonguss. There's no way. If you have Sacred Sword, you hit the Tyranitar with Sacred Sword. If you have Flash Cannon, I think you hit Tyranitar with Flash Cannon. If you're sub-wide guard, I think you have to hit Amoonguss with a Shadow Ball. I don't think you have any other play. I don't think Aegislash can switch. So there's the Coco switch. Amoonguss Rage Powders, Tyranitar D-dances, Flash Cannon. Doesn't knock out. Okay. Greedy by Chuppa. He should still lose. I don't think this game is... Well, no. So now Chuppa has the potential to go for a second Dragon Dance. Greedy. Very greedy. I think Lega had the potential to go for something like Earthquake Flash Cannon. I don't know why I didn't mention that, but Earthquake Flash Cannon into the Tyranitar or into the Amoonguss is not a particularly unreasonable play. And if you get Earthquake, you just lose to Coco plus Lega Slash. Do you? Okay, hold on. Earthquake Flash Cannon. Earthquake activates Very. Amoonguss takes. Tyranitar. Dragon Dances. Gets up to plus a billion. Yeah, and then you just lose to Earthquake. Tyranitar Earthquakes. No, Landorus Earthquakes. Tyranitar crunches. Amoonguss Spores. And you lose. Yeah, I guess Earthquake wasn't particularly likely. No, hold on. Earthquake, Crunch, Spore, Coco in, Burn the Sleep turn, Dazzling Gleam, switch out Lando. Into Feeny. Okay. So, my claim is that Chuppa's play loses very hard to Earthquake Flash Cannon, and so does every play. So, Earthquake Flash Cannon, Chuppa has a couple of options. If Chuppa switches, he loses, so we're not going to consider that. Chuppa can Rock Slide, Dragon Dance, Crunch, Protect. The Flash Cannon goes into the Amoonguss. I don't think Amoonguss ever protects on that turn. But you want to cover for... Chuppa never goes for Protect Spore. Protect Spore is a bad play. It is too hard of a read onto too specific of a play when there are other ways to cover for it. So I don't think you need to cover for Protect Spore. Correct me if I'm wrong, and if anyone thinks it's particularly safe. So you don't cover for Protect Spore. So you Earthquake, and you Flash Cannon the Tyranitar. If Tyranitar Rock Slides, your Lega Slash probably survives, knocks it out. If Tyranitar crunches and spores, if Tyranitar Dragon Dances and spores, and Amoonguss Spores, you win. Tyranitar Dragon Dances and Amoonguss Rage Powders, you win. Okay, so if Tyranitar Dragon Dances and Amoonguss Spores, if Tyranitar crunches, Tyranitar Dragon Dances, Amoonguss Spores, you win. Tyranitar Dragon Dances, Amoonguss Rage Powders, you win. Tyranitar Rock Slides, Amoonguss Rage Powders, you win. Because Coco Gleam, Aegis, because you get to Gleam his Tyranitar. Worst case scenario, you have a 50-50 that's very much in your favor. With the Dazzling Gleam versus Dragon Dance, you can, like, you know, double protect, or you can Dazzling Gleam King's Shield into getting Sky dropped into... Okay, so the claim was Mm. I think Earthquake Flash Cannon was probably the correct play, and Chuppa just didn't cover for it because it doesn't feel correct. It feels very risky. Um, yes, because if you if you go for Earthquake Flash Cannon, Chuppa goes for Spore Crunch. Rage Powder, yeah, Rage Powder Dragon Dance loses. If he goes for Spore on the Landorus and Crunch, then your Landorus is asleep. You get in Coco, Dazzling Gleam doesn't KO Amoonguss. You just Dazzling Gleam twice, knock out the Landorus, and then knock out the Tyranitar. Your Landorus just cleans up. So I am very much of the opinion that Earthquake plus Flash Cannon was the correct play. No, it's what I'm trying to determine is whether it beats Spore as well, and I think it does. So I very much disagree with this Coco switch in, and Chuppa plays to his out, and optimizes his win con, and yeah, okay. How does he win from here? Rage Powder Dragon Dance again should just win the game, I think. And oh, and Lega activates the. Can't do that. Yep, there's the Dragon Dance. Substitute's good. Good start. But now you just Rage Powder Rock Slide and win the game. I don't think there's anything Lega can do about that. If he just has to believe in Rock Slide missing. Rage Powder, Rock Slide, crits, doesn't matter. Cannon, Shadow Ball, sure. Doesn't make a difference. Should have been Flash Cannon, but it wasn't. Volt Switch Crunch here. Crunch Landorus because it's safer. Aegislash probably goes down to Volt Switch. Flash Cannon probably doesn't KO. Skydrop is okay because you can protect. Wait, did Skydrop just... Okay, couple of interesting things to note. So first, Skydrop on a King's Shield did not drop Coco's attack. Can someone in chat confirm to me whether that's the actual mechanic? Second, gameplay was very linear from Chuppa. He decided as much as possible not to use Rock Slide. Lega was a double protect away from winning this game, and I think it's actually kind of shameful that he didn't go for it. It's pretty embarrassing. If he got the double protect on turn 9, let me just rewind. Yeah, if he got the double turn 9. So if he goes for double protect here, Chuppa's very unlikely to go for Rock Slide. Rock Slide's just not in his best interests. You force your opponent to hit the double here. You say, I have a 70% chance to win the game, or they can choke. And if I hit the 70% chance, automatically win. And if they choke, I automatically win. And there's, a 30... So there's kind of like a 15% chance to lose, kind of. Assuming your opponent chokes this position 50% of the time. So you take the 85% shot to win, and you crunch the Aegislash. So that means you have to double protect here. Always. Always, always, always double protect here. Chuppa will not go for Rock Slide. You have to double. If you double, you win. Very easy, very clean. Play to your outs. This is a very bad idea by Lega to not play to his outs here. The rock slide was correct here. This rock slide was correct. This crunch was correct. It's because there was still one turn of Sandstorm left, so crunching Lando was just optimal. Low risk. Sky drop. So the last play to investigate is the sky drop. So you sky drop the Aegislash, assuming the Aegislash was in blade form. You sky drop it. Then Coco comes in. Coco protects. Chuppa's Coco finishes a sky drop. And Aegislash is free to attack into the Tyranitar. So Aegislash just goes for substitute. Yeah, garbage play. That was losing. Chuppa threw really, really hard with that sky drop. If Chuppa gets that sky drop off, there is no way he wins that game. Sky drop, Coco comes in, Coco protects, Tyranitar can't hit anything, so it has to protect, or else Aegislash will knock it out. Chuppa's Coco finishes the sky drop, Aegislash subs, and Chuppa can't break through the sub. Aegislash knocks out Tyranitar. Tyranitar knocks out. Okay, Chuppa still might win because he has to hit Rock Slide. Yeah, no, Chuppa still wins, but I really don't like the sky drop. I think it was bad. Sky drop is really, really bad. Do not use sky drop. As much as possible, avoid sky dropping. Chuppa forgot that his Tyranitar was faster than his Coco, and since his Tyranitar is faster than his Coco, the sky drop does not do what you want it to do. Because especially the Aegislash has substitute. Yeah, Chuppa gave himself a chance to lose by missing Rock Slide on turn 10. I don't like that. Bad sky drop. Tyranitar would have tanked the Flash Cannon. It's in sand. You just Volt Switch there on the Aegislash. Electric Terrain Volt Switch covers for the Aegislash, not protecting because Tyranitar will tank. And then your Coco knocks out the Aegislash on the following turn, potentially with an Electro Web or something like that. Chuppa might have been reading Lega switching back into Coco, but that doesn't matter. You always Volt Switch there. Always. 100%. Very bad play. Cool. And then he crunches the Aegislash when Lega doesn't double protect, which is bad. Lega goes for Gleam, which is correct. Chuppa goes for Electro Web, which is very smart. Recognizes that he's trading away his Tyranitar. Gets the minus speed, so he's going first. Gets the Volt Switch. No way. So that means Lega can't double crit or single crit into single crit. Volt Switch would have been fine. Actually, I like Volt Switch a bit more because it's more accurate. I think what you have to do is you have to do damage calcs on that. So you say, I'm going to Volt Switch twice. Can 2 Gleam crits knock me out? And they couldn't. Even if Lega crit twice, it wouldn't have done anything because the crit would have done total of 75%. And if Chuppa missed Electro Web, that could have been very bad. Assuming crits. So I think Volt Switch there would have been a slightly safer play. Not very much a fan of that Electro Web. Okay. Any questions before game 2? Nightlight, are you still here? Just want to know if you're going to be here when I start your VOD. Oh, it says you're still in the chat. That's why I can add it. Cool. Okay, everyone ready for game 2? Any questions? I'm gonna turn on the AC because it's really hot in here. Okay, so in game 2, I think Chuppa plays amazing. I'm actually a massive fan of the way Chuppa played this set. I think it was this game. I think it was very elegant. I think that Chuppa didn't play game 1 particularly well, but Lega threw pretty hard. Great TKD at him. I always wanted Reggie's. Okay, so going into game 2, why did Lega lose? How can he win? I don't know what Lega's Tyranitar set is, but I would want to bring Tyranitar to this game. Chuppa showed that he doesn't have a lot of great ways to hit it. Lando was very good. Aegislash was very good. Feeny was next to useless. I would probably go something like Lando, T-Tar, Aegi, Coco. Feeny actually did nothing that past set. It moonblasted an Amoonguss and then it got knocked out. No value. T-Tar would be far better because T-Tar does more work against Salamence, even though Salamence has Earthquake. It does more work against opposing, does good enough against opposing Tyranitar. Yeah, I mean, okay. Yeah. So I would go something like Landorus T-Tar or Landorus Coco or Coco T-Tar. I would go in some order Landorus, T-Tar, Aegi, Coco. I'm not sure precisely what the order would be. T-Tar, it's hard to beat Feeny in the front if you don't bring your own Feeny. So I think potentially something like Landorus. Okay. Okay, I see where this is going. That's actually quite tough. Amoonguss Feeny is a very difficult lead to beat with this team. Because Feeny can just click Muddy Water. And you don't want to bring Latias. Yeah, you might have to bring Feeny just to beat that lead. Lega has no other options against it. Unless his weakness policy Tyranitar. If he has weakness policy Tyranitar, he has one option. And that lead would be fine. Something like Tyranitar Aegislash, I think would be quite nice. If Tyranitar can beat the Feeny, or trade evenly enough. Because I think if you knock out Feeny, sub Aegislash, Landorus Coco does quite well against Aegislash, against Amoonguss Coco T-Tar, or like Amoonguss Coco Mence or something like that. Because your Landorus just runs through it. So if Tyranitar's weakness policy, which I think it might be, Aegislash Tyranitar is a very good lead here for Chuppa, for Lega. For Chuppa, Chuppa needs to... Yeah, I still like my idea earlier. I think Mence was way too important. I think Chuppa's game plan game 1 was pretty trash. He just got bailed out. You could go... you could drop Coco, but the only way Chuppa was able to beat Feeny in the last game was by hitting it early. No, you can beat Feeny with Tyranitar. I think you drop Coco. I think you go something like Amoonguss Mence, Amoonguss Feeny, Mence T-Tar, or something like that. I think that Amoonguss Feeny was very strong. You could go Amoonguss Mence. I actually don't mind that at all. Amoonguss Mence is very good against the Feeny Landorus lead that Lega went with last time. So I wouldn't mind that too much. I still think Tyranitar would be really good here from Lega. So you might have to bring your Aegislash to account for that. But no, you can't. You could bring Aegislash, but I think Tyrantar showed that it was really good here, and will be good in the next game. Cool. Aegislash Feeny versus Coco Mence. Coco Mence is fine. Coco Mence gives you a lot of pivot potential. I like that. Yeah, I'm fine with this. Iggy Feeny, though. I guess the idea is against... Chuppa doesn't have great ways to hit through Iggy and Feeny at the same time. That is true. You do have the pivot potential probably to Landorus in the back. I think that maybe you go for something like Moonblast, Never-Ending Nightmare against Amoonguss Feeny, and you Moonblast Never-Ending Nightmare the Feeny, and that way the Feeny is pressured. Yeah, I guess I see that. I just don't want to have Feeny in this game. I think Feeny just... When Feeny doesn't have a berry, it feels like it takes too much too easily. Like, you saw Chuppa's Feeny. It took a Never-Ending Nightmare, and then it wasn't a presence anymore. You had to sack it. You saw, Lega's Feeny. It took a Moonblast, and then it couldn't switch in anymore. So I think that, like, Specs Feeny removes the bit about Feeny that makes it even worth using in the first place. So I just don't like it in this matchup. I would rather have Tyranitar. Depending on the set, of course. I don't know what the proper set is. So, turn 1. Mence switches out. Mence has no position being on the field. Mence switches, Coco Volts. Where does the Volt go? Where does Landorus come in? So, you have to think Feeny is switching into Landorus here, and Aegislash is going for Substitute. That's just such a free play. There's nothing that punishes that from Lega. So Mence has to switch out. You don't want to switch Mence into Tyranitar. It's not the right time. If Chuppa has Aegislash, you don't want to switch into Aegislash if you have that. Aegislash gets hit too hard by a potential Never-Ending Nightmare into the Mence, which is a very reasonable option for Lega right here. Mence isn't protecting, so you can, like, decide to nuke the switch. So I guess Mence into Amoonguss if possible. He probably has it. You have to bring Amoonguss with Mence in this matchup, I think, to beat the Aegislash. And then Volt the Aegislash, in my mind. You want your Volts to be safe. Always want your Volts to be safe. So let's see how this goes. So there's the Amoonguss. Lando comes in from the Aegislash slot. Chuppa Volts the Feeny. Into T-Tar is better than into Lando, of course. We'll finish the turn. No, stop. Okay, we'll just play. Oh, and he... God, I keep skipping it. Yeah, Lega locks into Icy Wind. And crits the Amoonguss. Okay. So I guess Chuppa's idea was the Feeny switch into Lando was so obvious that he could, like, play for it and keep it relatively safe. I'm not sure why Lega didn't sub with Aegislash there. I think that was a very, very bad play. I think Feeney into Lando and substitute is just optimal. It just works. It just does exactly what you want it to, and he probably would have won the game on the strength of that play alone. Substitute Amoonguss doesn't do too much in the early game, so I guess that's not that great. But sub Aegislash doesn't do too much in the early game, but like you get flash cannons into the Amoonguss, you get consistent damage that Chuppa's gonna struggle to get through. And then you can like intimidate cycle and I don't know, man. I don't know why my voice is cracking either. I'm not sure I really respect that play. Okay, so going into turn 2. Rage Powder, Rock Slide. Chuppa doesn't want to Dragon Dance here because he's getting Icy Winded. Dragon Dance doesn't provide him any value. It's just a wasted turn. You Rage Powder, so Lega can't Superpower. You can't protect Amoonguss. You can't support the Landorus. Landorus is switching out. It's U-turning. It's just U-turning. But you have to Rage Powder anyway. You're going to get your Berry. If Landorus is U-turning... Okay, so Landorus isn't Earthquaking here, right? Like, the only way Landorus Earthquakes is if Feeney comes in. Landorus doesn't Superpower here either. Superpower is just a bit too risky. Landorus has to U-turn here, right? Like, there's a 100% chance Landorus U-turns here. Thanks, man. I know my stream has low quality. I don't think Landorus ever goes for Superpower here. And definitely never goes for Earthquake. Earthquake doesn't knock out Amoonguss and probably puts it into Berry range, so Earthquake yourself and Icy Wind into something like Protect Spore is way too risky. Chuppa never protects Spores here, but that's only because U-turn is going to happen. Like, Landorus will U-turn here. You want to preserve your Intimidates on Tyranitar. You need Landorus in the back to beat the Coco and the Mence. And so Chuppa could conceivably switch out Amoonguss into Coco. I sound much smarter than I am because I didn't actually think of that until I recalled what actually happened in the game. But yeah, I think Tyranitar Rock Slides here. Amoonguss could switch into Coco. Amoonguss could also Rage Powder. Don't think Rage Powder is really necessary. Spore is definitely incorrect, so switching into Coco is a potential alternative. Landorus never Earthquakes here. Landorus clicks U-turn and clicks it on the Amoonguss slot. Protect Rock Slide actually could be quite nice. Just eke out that tiny bit of extra damage and then go for the same play next turn once he's shown he's locked himself into a U-turn. I wouldn't be averse to that. It's probably ban Tyranitar just to troll Lega. Very smart play. Like I said, because I saw what happened. Okay. Switches into Coco, not Aegislash because he doesn't want to get crunched. Fair enough. Then Coco takes a Rock Slide. He thought there was too high of a chance of being crunched, so he switched into Coco. Also, that Aegislash wouldn't really be able to do anything because Tyranitar still threatens it so much, and if you Flash Cannon the Tyranitar, you activate its policy. You really don't want to activate Tyranitar's policy here. Chuppa's switch into Coco was brilliant. Like, recognizing the positions when your opponent is 100% guaranteed to not make a certain play is really difficult because it looks like they could go for it. Switching in Coco there was very smart. It covers... It puts Coco in a really good position against Feeney. Gives Chuppa a lot of momentum. Oh, and we should view sandstorm damage. Cool. Afini has no health. Also, revealed, Coco's faster than Fini after -1. We would know that without... Chuppa would know that without Sandstorm by investigating his Coco's speed and his Fini's speed. Because we saw in Game 1 that Chuppa's Fini and Lega's Fini speed tied. But now everyone knows... But now Lega knows that it outspeeds. Lega also would know it outspeeds because he knows his Fini's speed stat. So Chuppa has a free Volt Switch Rock Slide here, or Volt Switch Crunch on the Fini slot. I think Rock Slide might be a bit better. Or Chuppa could... No, you Volt Switch the Fini here. Lega has no reason to preserve Fini. Fini is absolutely worthless. It can't beat Tarantar anymore. It's slower than Tarantar. Tarantar ever switches out. It can't beat Salamence. It's slower than Salamence. It gets knocked out, potentially even by Earthquake. Gets beat by Hitmonqian. The Fini provides... Oh, hey. My stream is dying. Absolutely terrible quality. What's up, Albine? Devon Specs. If you guys have any questions about the analysis, I would be more than happy to expand. If you guys have any potential plays, more than happy to analyze those. Anyway. So, Volt Switch into Fini is fine. I think you Rock Slide here to cover for... to just do more damage to Coco. If Coco stays in and lets itself get Rock Slid by going for like a Thunderbolt on Tarantar, you just win the game. It's going to go for Volt Switch, but you get nice chip onto whatever comes in the back. You could crunch the Coco, but I think that's a bit too aggressive. So yeah, you Volt Switch the Fini here. I don't think there's a good enough punish, and Rock Slide is fine. Tarantar could switch out into Hitmonqian, but Tarantar's position isn't bad enough to justify switching out into Hitmonqian yet, in my opinion. Okay. Okay. Yep, there's the Volt Switch. And it's gonna be Aegislash. Oh. Okay. Oh, and Chuppa goes into Mens, because of course he does. Okay. Coco is very unlikely to protect in that position. So one thing that is important to keep in mind if you're getting into, like, higher echelons of play is what's logically possible is not necessarily a possibility. So, for instance, it's always possible that, my opponent Flare Blitzes his own Porygon 2 turn 1 with his Arcanine, just because. But that doesn't mean it's an option you think about. And it's not an option I think about as, an Incineroar P2 or Arcanine P2 player. It's just not an option. In that position, if Lega switched into Landorus and protected Coco, he would have been able to trap Chuppa's Coco in and do a bunch of really good damage to it. But that's not really an option for him in here because Coco has this idea that it has to volt. It has to be doing bits of damage. If it's not doing damage, then what's Coco doing? And you want the Volt Switches to do, good chip damage to your opponent. So Coco almost always Volt Switches there. On the Tarantar, because Chuppa's Coco can't do anything to it. So the Volt Switch onto the Tarantar is safe. So Lega will almost always go for it. So Chuppa recognizes that Lega wants to preserve his Fini. For some reason, I have no idea why. I would have Volt Switched that Fini because Lega doesn't really want to preserve it. Volt Switches the Coco, though, because it's safe to do so. If it hadn't worked out and Feeney had stayed in, because Chuppa switched into Amoonguss, he can just volt back into Amoonguss, back into Tyranitar, and the position's reset, and nothing's wrong. But because Landorus came in, Chuppa's free to volt switch into Salamence. So the volt switch on the Koko is very safe, very balanced. Switching into Amoonguss is nice to reset Tyranitar's speed drops. I think Chuppa could have gone for a free Rock Slide, but Amoonguss in here, in this position, is a lot better than Amoonguss was, than Tyranitar would be in the same position. You might have to like take an extra turn getting Mence in, and here, Chuppa can go for a very, very safe play, except for Rock Slide flinches, of Rage Powder Dragon Dance. That's 73% guaranteed. But everything is 73%. If there's anything you want to learn about, though, Devon Specs, then ask a specific question. I'm here to try and teach, and if you have a play in your mind that I don't discuss, I'd be more than happy to analyze it. So, Rage Power Dragon Dance. Lega has to Rock Slide, burn the Z move. He could U-turn if he wanted to in order to get Intimidate back. I'm not particularly impressed with that as a play. I think you go for flinches here. I don't think you have any other outs. Salamence Megas, Amoonguss Rage Powders, Landorus U-turns, because Lega's, not playing that great. Koko comes in, Chuppa Dragon Dances, Mega Slash Z moves, because you have to Z move. You have to burn your Z move there. On the off chance that Chuppa doesn't go for Rage Powder, I think you always burn your Z move there. Just to make sure Amoonguss also actually gets knocked out. We saw in Game 1 that Flash Cannon did... Flash Cannon would have knocked out that Amoonguss. I think Flash Cannon would actually have been better. If he knows he's U-turning it. I think you just calc, based on how much U-turn did in Game 1. And then determine whether Flash Cannon will KO. He did take the conservative approach of burning his Z move, but I think at this point you need to say, I'm in such a bad position, I need to take every advantage I can get, and hope you get the knockout. Cool. So Chuppa's in a really, really good position. Earthquake with Mence, looks free on board. Of course, you never go for Earthquake here. Yeah, so if Lega hadn't burned his Z move, Chuppa sends in Tyranitar because Koko doesn't do too much. Ooh. Okay. So if Lega doesn't burn his Z move, Chuppa could send in Koko. Skydrop still sucks, though, so you don't go for it. So you send in T-Tar anyway. And, yeah. So if Lega hadn't burned his Z-move, this position would be far more favorable for him, because he's exerting pressure on Chuppa Salamence with the Z-move. He has the potential to, Z-move the Salamence, and that makes King Shield a very strong play, because it'll lower Tyranitar's attack, and then you can Z-move, at the appropriate point. Right here, Lega needs to... This game's pretty over. So Chuppa goes for return on the Koko plus Dragon Dance, 100% free now that Lega's burned his Z-move. So Lega needs to play aggressively, because the game's over. This game's over. This game's over. Feeney preserving, bad. All these things were bad. You want more free switches. So the game's over, so you need to play aggressively. So you get the Shadow Ball crit onto Tyranitar. Not Shadow Ball, Flash Cannon. You Flash Cannon crit the T-Tar this turn, I think. Chuppa's Tyranitar is going to Dragon Dance because Dragon Dance Return the Koko is very safe. Tyranitar should survive a Flash Cannon. And so you just decide that it isn't going to. And you start rolling dice in your favor, not in your opponent's. And, if Chuppa goes for Crunch, it's fine. He already had the set, right? You get annoyed that he didn't play a bit more safely. The Dragon Dance is safe, not greedy. because it, you know, ups your damage potential in the mid game, gives you an alternative potential option to hit the Landorus. So I think Dragon Dance is correct. It also covers for a King Shield, which is very devastating. So if you Dragon Dance, you can kind of threaten the King Shields at the non-King Shield Vega Slash anyway. But if you don't Dragon Dance, you're kind of in a bad position. So you Dragon Dance here, and then if you're Lega, you Flash Cannon crit and protect Coco. We're making hard reads at this point. You know, you want to make every read you can. I think... yeah, I think protecting Coco is fine. So Chuppa takes a knockout, and Lega wants a free switch into Landorus, but first, if you want the free switch into Landorus, you switch in Feeny, you sack Feeny. Feeny is garbage. Feeny does nothing. Whereas Coco still outspeeds Tyranitar after one Dragon Dance. And resists flying. So you never don't protect Coco, because Chuppa's covering the Coco attack. That's always happening. So you switch Coco into Feeny if you want to sacrifice a Pokemon. But I think you protect Coco and you Flash Cannon Tyranitar because we need to make reads at this point. Not bad plays. We need to make risky plays because we've lost. So we want to cover for that. Anyone else disagree? Cool. So Aegislash switches into Landorus. Maybe he hopes he can take a neutral return. There's no way that ever happens. Chuppa Dragon Dances, as we said, very safe. King Shield was so telegraphed. I'm sorry guys, give me a second. Okay, turn 6. It's possible Flash Cannon crit wouldn't have KO'd the Tyranitar, but even if that's the case, you go for it. You go for it twice, because, you know, they're not going to go for it again. And if they do, it sucks. Your Lando should still be able to take them out. From the ashes, from the ashes. So Chuppa returns the Lando here. Guaranteed. There's no reason to Earthquake yourself. Too risky. Not enough reward. And you crunch the Aegislash because you can. Like, force Aegislash. Like, if Aegislash King Shields here, that's a victory for you because you get a free return onto Lando. If you're Lega, King Shield Earthquake, maybe. Crit the T-Tar. King Shield Superpower if you have it. King Shield Earthquake, crit the T-Tar. Like, you have to go for something here, something real. And I think that's more real than any other play here, like Rock Slide Flinch into Shadow Ball crit. You could Rock Slide Shadow Ball the Salamence and hope that knocks out. I guess that's fine. 2 potential crits, but you have to flinch. Could catch Chuppa getting greedy. It's okay. Return. Rock Slide. Tyranitar flinches. Vega / Shadow Balls. Special defense draw. Yeah, like I said, I think that hoping for the just the Earthquake crit on Tyranitar would have been really solid. because then you can sub on the next turn. It's very difficult for the Salamence to hit the Aegislash because that's to Earthquake, but it's next to an Assault Vest Coco. So I think, if you're hoping for a crit, which he might not have been, but I don't think it was, but he was hoping for a flinch into a damage roll, which I don't think he even knew was a damage roll. So I might have hoped for the Earthquake crit instead, but I can see the merits of this line of play. Anyway, game's over. You just return Crunch into return the Landorus, crunch the Aegislash, return the Landorus again, crunch the Aegislash again. Game's over. Return, crunch. If you're going to be risky with Aegislash, you have to be risky far earlier, than he forfeits. So key points. Turn 2, Munga switch into Coco was very good. Very good. Recognized that there was no way that Lega went for Earthquake there, and that U-turn was the most likely possibility, not Superpower. Rage Powder was too threatening. Then turn 3, Chuppa correctly Volt switches the Coco, which works out very well. Notices that Coco never protects in that position. Turn 1, the Volt switch into Feeny was questionable, but it worked out. And then once that happened, Chuppa, since he switched Tyranitar into Amoonguss, he got the perfect setup. Game won from there. Cool. Any questions? This is the Jonathan Evans catch-up plan. Oh, you have a question. Please, ask a question. Yeah, this is MPA. Yep, Nightlight, I got you next. Your match against Gary Chian, right? Okay. So just checking. Any viewers want to talk about Chuppa versus Lega? Put some messages in the chat if you do. I'm going to go get a drink of water because I've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes straight. Okay. No one seems to have any concerns with my analysis of the previous match. So, let's hop to it. Yo, Nightlight, do you want to get in a Discord call? If we get in a Discord call, I'm not sure exactly how great the quality would be, but I'd be more than happy to talk to you. I think it's more fun to talk about plays than to just analyze them on my own. Okay. What is your Discord? Mine is, okay. Cool. We'll see if this works. ashes rise. From the ashes. What's good, dude? Can you hear me? I cannot hear you, and I don't think the viewers can either. Yes. Okay, cool. That's really sick. I'm not sure how you can play PUBG on mobile, but it's sick that they released it. Okay, so let's look at this matchup. We got Gary Chan on the bottom for game one. I'll open all three replays. Why not? Rise from the ashes.
Hello.
What's good, dude?
Hey.
Could you get a bit closer to your? Could you get a bit closer to your mic? Okay. Sorry, guys. There's going to be a bit of static. It's not my bad. It is a bad microphone. Dude, Alvin used to have the worst microphone ever. Were you ever in a Skype call with him like last year? This man could not make any, comprehensible sounds without massive amounts of static. This looks like a rough matchup for Nightlight. Polytoad Ludicolo just kind of runs through his team. Polytoad Ludicolo Mawile is so terrifying. I don't think you even need Gothitelle. Just Polytoad Ludicolo Mawile Coco. You could go Polytoad Ludicolo Gothitelle Mawile. That would be fine. It seems like the only redeeming feature is Mungus. Okay. So, if you're Nightlight, what you have to do, you have to lead something like Aegislash Amoonguss. Take a very mid-speed. You have to take a very mid-tier approach to the matchup. Find some way to tank the Hydro Vortex. You have to tank the Hydro Vortex. Yo, Ben. Are you there? Can anyone... I can't hear you, and that means the viewers can't hear you. Okay. I'm just gonna start, and he'll message the chat when he is ready. So, starting with this first game, so that's what I think could come out of Gary Chian. I think Nightlight has to go for something like Amoonguss, Aegislash, Mence, Coco in order to get the amount of damage he wants. No, I'm not gonna try Skype. I'll just do this all on my own. Sorry, dude. Okay, cool. So let's see what they do go for. So, yep, there's Ludicolo, there's the Polytoad. Very strong start. There's the Aegislash, there's the Amoonguss. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? So, you have to figure out a way to burn the Z move. So if I'm Gary Chian, I probably just burn the Z move right now. I don't think I need it too much, but that's the first thing you need to do against Rain, is you need to burn their Z move. So what I would do if I was Nightlight is I would Spore the Polytoad or Sludge Bomb the Polytoad, force Polytoad to do something like switch into Coco. And if I'm Gary Chian, and King Shield with Aegislash, if I'm Gary Chian, I Z-move the Aegislash, just put the damage into, might be AV Ludicolo, in which case this gets a bit different, and then switch into Coco in order to prevent Spore from starting to... in order to prevent Spore from doing its work. If he's AV, the correct play is, I believe, to fake out the Amoonguss and scald the Aegislash. And then double it with water moves. Okay. So, yep, there's the Z move. Ice Beam. Not sure I like that. Z move. There's a Clear Smog. Okay. Clear Smog is fine. It pressures the Coco switch in. Not sure I necessarily like it. The Nen is okay. I'm not sure I'm on the same page as the Nen. But I guess it does really pressure the Coco switch in and Hydro Vortex play it's adjusted. Especially because, you know, I didn't expect Aegislash to take it. I still might have King Shield. I guess the Nen is I trade my Aegislash for Ludicolo and then the game is very fair, which I guess is fine. And so for Gary, you know, going into game 2, if I lose this game, I'm definitely gonna, you know, maneuver my rain mode around a bit more elegantly than just, you know, starting and blowing the Z move. Yeah, Skype is garbage. Okay, so we resume. Sends in Coco. It's probably correct, but now Amoonguss is just really threatening because Amoonguss is not threatening as long as Ludicolo pressures the slot next to Amoonguss. But now that Amoonguss, you know, can just clear Smog, whatever, Amoonguss is really, really threatening. Here, if you're Gary, you want to go for something like Dazzling Gleam, Ice Beam. It's just very safe. There's not a lot of punish for it. You don't really want a Thunderbolt because you could just be doing more damage in general. If you're Ben, I think you have to sacrifice Aegislash and probably protect Amoonguss or something. You could clear Smog, but you don't get much value out of that, and instead you get dealt a ton of damage. So Amoonguss protects Aegislash, reveals Scarf Toad. Okay, first things first, my apologies. Here is something really important. Whenever you think you are going to get KO'd, you make the correct play anyways. It does not matter what you think is going to happen to your Pokemon. You make the correct play. That's really, really important. So, there have been a lot of times where I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter, I'll get knocked out, I'll just Ice Beam, right? You know, I'll just, you know, just in case. If the correct play is the correct play, always go for it. It can often be hard to remember that, and so I'm sorry I didn't analyze which slot the Aegislash would attack into. It was incorrect of me to do so, and I'm sorry. So Gary Chan did not respect the sacrifice. The sacrifice is very obvious from Nightlight. He has no reason to keep Aegislash around anymore. It does not do anything. So I think you Shadow Ball the top of Coco here. I think Coco is more of a threat. It probably puts it into something like Clear Smog's range, or it might. You could get a special defense drop, or something like that. I think that Politoed is not very much of an active threat, and Shadow Ball is likely to do very little damage to it. So I think the Shadow Ball target is incorrect. When you sacrifice Aegislash, you should sacrifice it by Shadow Balling the Tapu Koko specifically. That did a lot of damage. Scarf Toad sucks. If you're Gary Chan, you go for Gleam, Ice Beam, unless you respect Coco, in which case... Now, if you're Ben, you could protect Aegislash to try and catch the Volt Switch. And I would not be opposed to that. You could sacrifice Aegislash again. I'd be comfortable with that as well. With the Shadow Ball being into the Politoed this time. Even though I think it should have been into the Koko last turn. The Shadow Ball going into Politoed this time just, put Gary down to 2 Pokemon as opposed to 3. Very beneficial. Clear Smog into Koko is very safe. There's nothing much wrong with it. You could Rage Powder. You could Rage Powder Shadow Ball. I think it's not unreasonable to expect that this is Specs Koko because it's a rain team. And so I think Rage Powder is not an unreasonable choice here. Especially considering that Amoonguss is likely to be safe, and then you can, trade Amoonguss for Politoed, and even though your Aegislash is effectively knocked out, no. From the ashes. Okay. You have Koko and Men's in the back. The Koko is Specs. Specs Volt Switch plus Ice Beam knocks out Amoonguss. This is a very difficult turn, actually. Volt plus Ice Beam is going into the Amoonguss. I think you go for the double protect with Amoonguss and you Shadow Ball the Politoed. That might be my play. Ben goes for the Rage Powder. The Ice Beam goes first. I forgot that Ice Beam went first. Very important. Since Ice Beam goes first, Rage Powder is perfectly fine and your position is excellent. And Rage Powder Shadow Ball the Politoed is more than acceptable. Especially because it's likely Specs Koko. Yep, there's the Specs. There's the Volt. There's the Mawile, as was, predicted. Okay. Do you Shadow Ball the Koko there? Yeah, it's fine. You probably do want to hit the Koko switch in. You don't want to give the Koko a free switch back in, especially if it wants to lock into Gleam again. So I guess Shadow Balling the Koko switch in is fine. This is a very tough matchup. And also, because the Koko switch is most likely Mawile. Yeah, I'm fine with Shadow Balling the Koko there. Thought Shadow Balling the Toad was correct, but you don't want to get Koko plus Mawile back in with both of them at full health, because you don't have much in the back that can beat that except for Heatran. And Ben probably doesn't have Heatran in the back. Turn 4, you can just double protect to try and scout out Mawile's protect. Mawile can't do anything aggressive. And then you're always free to go for Rage Powder Shadow Ball later. Mawile protects. Amoonguss Rage Powders, Politoed Ice Beams. Aegislash Shadow Balls a Politoed. I guess that covers for Politoed switching into Koko, but I don't think Politoed ever switches into Koko there. Does it not? Could Politoed switch into Koko? I guess it could. I guess it could. Actually, I guess. Yeah, I guess Politoed could switch into Koko there. Since Politoed could switch into Coco, I think that's fine. If Politoed couldn't switch into Coco, I would very much not like that play. Because you don't want to let Coco come in for free. Yeah, of course it specs Coco. You can tell it specs Coco. Coco comes in. Now you just... Okay, you don't sack. There's the Gleam. Not sure what Aegislash is doing. Gary. So Gary Iron-Headed in order to cover for switches. Gary should have Sucker Punched to cover for King Shield. Ben King Shielded to get the reduction on Mawile. Very smart. Benson's in his own Coco. If Gary had full attack, Sucker Punch plus Dazzling Gleam might be enough to knock out. As it is, he probably has to protect Mawile. You could Gigavolt the Mawile through Protect. I think that would be fine. And sacrifice Aegislash. Ben Gleams. Ben has Specs Coco. Ben doesn't have Gigavolt. Ben says Earthquake. Game. Unless Coco crits and wins the speed type. So, oh, there's return. Okay. What? 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 What just happened? Ben, do you not have Earthquake on this Mence? This Mence has Earthquake. I know this team. I have it in my builder. The Mence has Earthquake. I just... Oh. Okay. You don't have Earthquake. So... That means Ben really choked earlier. There was a choke, and we can find it. And it was... It was letting Coco come in for free. So he's KO'd the Politoed, let Coco come in for free. When he could have just double protected. Scouted out the mall. No. Hold on. No, the bad play was, the bad play was preserving... No. Does anyone know whether Clear Smog plus Dazzling Gleam KO Specs Coco? No, the choke was when you didn't let something... What do you mean the choke was when you let Aegi die to Dazzle? No, that's not the choke. The choke is when you sacrifice Amoonguss. I think. Should bookmark this website. 66 min. $88 min. 88 plus 66 is knockout. So the choke is when you sacrifice to Mungus. So the correct play that turn is to switch in Mence. Does Mence get KO'd? So you have like kind of a bulky Mence. So Mence, like 100. Oh no, it was a really bulky Mence, was my understanding. Okay, where's the choke? Yeah, so what you do is you switch in Mence. The turn, you sacrifice to Mungus and King Shielded with Aegislash. You switch in Salamence. King Shield with Aegislash. If Mence dies, you send in Amungus, protect Amungus, sack Aegislash. Oh no, that goes down to a speed tie because Amungus goes for because Mawile gets a Sucker Punch off. No, it doesn't because you can Spore. So you Dazzling Gleam, Spore. Your goal is to get a Dazzling Gleam Spore off on the Coco. Or a Dazzling Gleam Clear Smog. Depending upon whether Electric Terrain is up or not on the specific turn. I think there is a game plan where you preserve Amungus. Amungus takes a Dazzling Gleam. Spores. Because Mawile attacked, you would have gotten Amungus Coco versus Mawile Coco. If you win the read on whether he Sucker Punches, you win the game. If you win the speed tie, you win the game. So that's at least a 75% win con. And if Electric Terrain ends at the appropriate time, which... So it wouldn't have ended there. So what you could have done is turn 5, you double protect. Turn 6, you sack Mence. Into the Mawile. And Aegislash. You get Amungus Coco out. On the last turn of Electric Terrain. No, that still doesn't work. Because you have to double protect, electricity disappears. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. Regardless, I think you had better chances to win. So the Sucker Punch by Gary was a choke on turn 7. Regardless, I think you have better chances to win by kind of winning the 50-50 with Amungus on whether you're protecting or clear smogging. And he's likely to not think of Sucker Punching the Amungus because he doesn't know that you're specs at that point, potentially. So I think you're more likely to win the game by going with the Amungus Coco game plan. And you can set that up by sacking Mence to the Mawile. Cool. And then Ben misses his damage roll. This is a very bad Sucker Punch. That Sucker Punch does not do anything. That should always be a play rough. 100%. If you think it says Earthquake, it should be a Sucker Punch. That's fair. Sucker Punch crit into win the speed tide with Dazzling Gleam is fine. And so I guess that that's acceptable. it also might make the difference in damage rolls. Yeah, I guess that Sucker Punch is okay. You know this is physical Mence, though, so... You know the Mence has Earthquake, so I guess the Sucker Punch is fine. Or at least I thought the Mence had Earthquake. That was a low roll. Might have been the best game plan. Oh, you have Wide Guard. You have Wide Guard. You have Wide Guard? If you have Wide Guard, you threw so hard. I don't understand how you can throw this game if you have Wide Guard on your Aegislash. Like, it is literally impossible to lose this game. That's... I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say. Yeah, that's really bad. That's really, really bad. That's so bad. That's... Okay, your correct play. Your 100% correct play is to double protect. Okay, if you have Wide Guard, this game becomes much easier. This is... Okay, so we're assuming you have Wide Guard, and we're assuming you don't know the mechanic. Yeah, you just switch Agi out. Like, that's just so bad. No. I don't even... If you're gonna do stuff like that, I don't see the point in analyzing the set. Like, it's not really interesting to me to analyze a set where one player just decides they don't know how to play Pokemon. I'm tilted now. I'm really tilted right now. Gary doesn't have much to lead against Amoonguss Aegislash. You go something like Coco. You go something like Politoed Ludicolo. Z. Yeah, you go for Z the Aegislash, switch into Coco, you have Gleams, then you get in Mawile for free. You Gleam Iron Head. It should work out fine. I'm tilted. Yep, and leads Aegislash Amoonguss. I don't like this lead. Can't beat Amoonguss. You have nothing to touch it. Your best move is Ice Punch. I don't like this Rage Powder. This Rage Powder does nothing. Conkeldurr can't hit Aegislash. Okay, it takes away the Volt Switch. I guess that's fine. You're Z-moving the Coco because you're supposed to, but you could Z-move the Conk if you want to. Z-move the Coco, yup, no more Politoed. There's the knockoff, so that was a double into the Aegislash, but you lost your berry for that. It's fine. Don't know why there's an Azu on my screen. Hydro Pump is okay, I don't really like it. Hydro Pump is fine. Ice Punch is also fine. Hydro Pump crits. Shadow Ball into Ludi. Azu Drums. Aggressive Drum is fine. Aggressive Drum is just 100% correct. No other way to play this set. Game. Aggressive drums are really, really good. You get a lot of mileage out of aggressive belly drums. Okay, so if you're Gary Qian, you look at this and you say, I am 0-2, how do I win game 3? Coco lead is incorrect, you don't have enough to pressure Aegislash. Gary doesn't have anything that actually deals with Aegislash. Gary's team is really bad. Conkeldurr needs to be Incineroar. That's just not a question. So how do you come back from Conkeldurr not being an Incineroar? Well, Politoed, Ludicolo is fine. I think it's just fine. And I think you have to pressure. I think you just have to pressure the Aegislash, like, because Aegislash has to King's Shield this time, because of the pressure of the double. You can use that to your advantage and only hit it with a single attack. And again, switching Coco. Gary leads incorrectly. Ben leads the same way as he did games 1 and 2 because it's correct. And Gary Qian decides he doesn't like winning. Sacks his Coco. Coco's gone. Knock off into the Amoonguss. Amoonguss loses the berry. Ludi's back in. Switch into Politoed. King's Shield. Gary goes for regular Hydro Pump. No, he doesn't, because he's bad. He Vortexes. Switch into Amoonguss Protect. I'm not sure I necessarily like that. I would have preferred a Shadow Ball from the Aegislash because this switch didn't do much. But now you get the, why is there a Rage Powder? What is that Rage Powder doing? You're supposed to be clear smogging the Ludicolo there. This King's Shield is fine, but good Poison Jab by Gary. Gary makes the coverage play. I guess that's okay. Ben goes for the double protect. And the drum. And would have been fine, probably, but I mean, okay, sure. You played some Pokemon. I think Gary just played really bad and had no matchup because he chose Conkeldurr on this team instead of Incineroar. And played not great. I'm tilted, Emilio. I'm really tilted. I'm not gonna lie. Like, Ben asked me to analyze his set where game 1 he loses because he doesn't know doesn't know wide guard mechanics. It's just like, come on, man. You can't do stuff like that. You can't do stuff like that. There are a lot of mechanics to forget. Wide guard mechanics are not one of the ones. Not allowed to forget that. And then Gary just like decides he doesn't really want to win turn 1 of this game. Then he vortexes the Aegislash. Like, you have to preserve your vortex. You use your vortex when it's correct. You hydro pump that Aegislash 10 times out of 10 because it's never, ever, ever going to knock King's Shield. Then he energy balled the Azumarill, like, okay, I guess. But the Aegislash just protected, do more damage to that slot. And Mungus Rage Powders, and you just... That energy ball is fine. This is a fine set of plays. I'm comfortable with that. Wait, no, I'm not. What's this Rage Powder doing? You're supposed to be clear smogging there. Sorry, I'm tilted. This is a good poison jab. This is an okay Coco switch. I like it more than an Azumarill switch. Coco switch here is okay. That's fine. This play's fine. That play's fine. Yeah, the rest of this game is fine. Okay. I'm a bit too sad and a bit too tired to continue streaming anymore. I think I'm done. If anyone has any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm sorry that the Skype didn't work out. The Discord didn't work out, Ben. I think talking with you would have been nice to hear your thought process behind plays. That was good fun, guys. I'll see you all soon.